Kilmer rose from the floor, charging like a beast. Walter drew a gun, an old but functional pistol. He fired once into Kilmer's leg. Claire Morgan gripped the steering wheel, her car rolling slowly down the red dirt road leading into Hollow Creek. A 30-year-old high school teacher, her dark brown hair tied neatly back, her eyes held a mix of determination and faint exhaustion. After years in the noisy city, Claire craved a fresh start, a quiet place to settle her life and mind. So she accepted a teaching job at a high school in Hollow Creek, a town few knew, tucked deep among Oregon's western forests and hills. Hollow Creek High, where Claire would teach, had been shuttered for 2 decades. According to the school board's records, it closed after an unspecified incident and was now reopening to serve the scattered families still living nearby. But when Claire mentioned it to the gas station attendant, he smirked and shook his head. "You're brave. That place swallowed a kid once, didn't leave a trace." Claire thought he was joking, but the villagers' vague words began to pile up. They avoided her gaze when she mentioned the old school. They called the adjacent dormitory an unclean place. The woman at the general store even pressed a dried herb sprig into Claire's hand, whispering, "Put it under your pillow, so it doesn't enter your dreams." Uneasy but determined, Claire moved into the dormitory, an old brick building draped in vines just steps from the school. She chose it to save money on rent in a town miles away. Inside were long hallways, creaking wood panels and peeling plaster walls. A musty smell lingered in every corner, but Claire brushed it off. Just a temporary place, she told herself. It'll be fine. But on her first night, as she lay on a creaky iron bed, wind slipped through the window cracks, making the candle on her desk flicker. In a half-dreaming haze, she thought she heard soft knocking, faint and distant, echoing from the end of the long hallway. She sat up listening, but there was only the wind, and an odd feeling like someone was watching her from the dark. Claire Morgan tossed and turned in the old dormitory, unable to sleep. Wind whistled softly through warped wooden windows, occasionally rattling against the walls with an unsettling clatter. Past midnight, as Claire tried to read a few pages to lull herself to sleep, a sound shattered the silence. A bell rang, piercing the stillness of Hollow Creek. She jolted upright. It was the school bell, the distinct chime of an old bell in the rooftop tower, echoing long and loud in the quiet village. Claire glanced at her clock. 2:14 a.m. She frowned. Impossible. The school's electrical system was still being restored, not fully connected. Besides, she was certain no one else was on the grounds. Heart racing, she threw on a jacket and stepped into the hallway, her feet cold from the night air seeping through cracks. The darkness swallowed everything, save for faint moonlight spilling into the schoolyard through a small window. No one, nothing stirred. The bell had stopped, but its echo left her shivering. The next morning, Claire woke earlier than usual, head heavy from lack of sleep. Entering the main classroom wing to check on the repair crew's work, she froze in the hallway. On the chalkboard in a classroom at the end of the corridor, in bright red chalk Claire didn't recall seeing before, someone had drawn a figure with a gaping mouth, as if screaming. Beside it, scrawled in jagged, violent strokes, "Well, he's still here." And Claire shuddered. She touched the chalk lines, still dusty, freshly written, but by whom? She thought of local teens playing a prank to scare the new teacher. But then she remembered the school wasn't open yet, no students. The repair crew had left the previous afternoon, and none would have access to chalk or reason to enter a classroom at night. Unease crept into Claire's chest, but she tried to stay calm, telling herself not to overthink. She erased the board, locked the classroom, and returned to the dormitory. At her door, she stopped. A stray cat, the gray one she'd seen in the schoolyard yesterday, lay motionless, eyes wide in disbelief at its own death. And Claire bent down, heart constricting. A bruise-like mark circled its neck, twisted and purple. Not hit by a car, not from a fight. Someone or something had killed it. Clutching her book tightly, Claire hurried inside. As she shut the door, the wind howled like a sigh in the darkness. Hollow Creek, she realized, might not be the peaceful haven she'd imagined. Wind hissed through the cracked windows like the old school's sighs. And Claire stood in the second-floor hallway, watching dusk swallow Hollow Creek. She frowned. Beyond the rusted gate, a figure flickered past. Not a student, there were none yet. Dressed in a faded gray-green uniform, like something from another era, the figure wore a lopsided cap, tall and stooped. "Hello," Claire called through a broken window. The man turned. From a distance, she saw his hollow eyes, like black voids reflecting no light. She blinked, he was gone. Claire rushed downstairs, but the schoolyard was empty. No footprints, no sound, just wind and a chill down her spine. That night, sleep eluded her. She brewed strong coffee, curling up on an old wooden chair, eyes fixed on the library at the end of the main building. Something about it called to her silently. Near midnight, she grabbed a flashlight and left the dim dormitory behind. The library was thick with dust. Bookshelves sagged, some books scattered on the floor. Claire's hand grazed moldy spines until a thick, black leather book caught her eye. No label, no title, just an old notebook tied with thin rope. The first page, in shaky handwriting, Unofficial Records, Hollow Creek School, 1982 to 2005. The next pages held brief entries. March 13, 1991, Henry R. scratched his arm raw in class, no clear reason. When asked, he repeated, "It's in my head." November 1995. Jacobs quit without reason, saying the walls are whispering. No one believed her. April 2002, school bell rang at midnight. No one admitted to it. Claire reached the final page where trembling words read, "Don't stay past 10 p.m. He doesn't like newcomers." A sudden thud came from behind. Claire spun, but only saw a window rattling in the wind. Clutching the notebook, she left the library, torn between fear and curiosity. Hallway lights flickered as if about to die. Near classroom 2A, where a student vanished 20 years ago, the doorknob turned slightly, though Claire was sure no one else was in the school. She opened the door, stepped inside, and it slammed shut behind her. Panicked, she twisted the knob. It was locked from outside. She pounded the door, shouting, "Is anyone there?" Only echoes answered from peeling walls, then footsteps, slow. On the ceiling, but this was the top floor, above was only the rotting wooden roof. Claire looked up, heart pounding. The steps moved directly overhead, then stopped. Silence. Then a faint scratching, like nails dragging on decayed wood. Claire backed toward a desk, hands trembling. The fluorescent light flared once, then went out. In the dark, she heard nothing until a broken whisper slid into her ear. "Don't stay past 10. Sobbing, she pounded the door, screaming until it finally gave way. She stumbled out like a madwoman, no one, no lights. She returned to her room, locked every bolt, and hid under blankets, sleepless. The old janitor's face haunted her, those empty eyes staring through time. The next day, she decided to check the rooftop, though it was off-limits for safety. Sneaking up the back dormitory stairs, she needed to confirm what she'd heard. The wooden floor creaked underfoot, groaning with each step. No footprints, but one thing stopped her cold. Fresh nail marks scratched into the wood. This wasn't imagination. Claire knew it. She left the rooftop, mind reeling. Descending the stairs, a strong push from behind made her stumble. She nearly fell over the third-floor railing, grabbing an iron banister just in time. Gasping, she turned, no one. But below, in the empty schoolyard, the janitor appeared again. This time, he looked up at Claire, unblinking. His lips moved, silent. She read the words, "He's still here." Claire didn't know how long she'd been unconscious. The room was pitch black, save for a flickering filament bulb dangling from a cracked ceiling. The musty air, laced with a metallic tang, made her gag. Her hands were bound with leather straps to an old iron bed, her feet chained tightly to the floor with rusted links. This wasn't a normal room, it felt like a prison. Old scratches marred the walls, childlike scribbles covered them, and a carved phrase stood out: "Eli was here." Footsteps echoed from afar, reverberating through the stone hallway, slow and heavy. Claire held her breath, eyes fixed on the creaking wooden door. Its hinges squeaked as it opened. He stepped in, Robert Kilmer. But he wasn't the man from the file photo Claire had seen. He was gaunt, stooped, with matted hair and beard, eyes sunken with madness. His tattered janitor's uniform reeked of decay, like an unburied corpse. "Eli," he whispered, voice trembling as if summoning a ghost. "Eli, you've come back to me, haven't you?" Claire tried to stay calm, but her heart raced. She realized he couldn't distinguish past from present. In his twisted mind, Claire was Eli, the one child he'd failed to reform. "You're mistaken," Claire rasped. "I'm not Eli. Eli's dead. You killed him." Kilmer paused, eyes twitching, then let out a shrill, unhinged laugh. "Dead? No one dies here. They're just quiet for a while, quiet to learn obedience." Claire struggled, the straps cutting into her wrists until they bled. Kilmer approached, his bony hand trembling as it brushed her hair, like soothing a compliant child. "You'll obey me, Eli. This time I'll do it right. No more mistakes." No more screams. Claire turned away, swallowing bile. She knew she had to escape now. As Kilmer turned, muttering disjointed phrases, Claire scanned the room. On a wooden table in the corner sat rusty scissors, likely his tool for treating students. If she got a chance, it was her only shot. Kilmer turned back, holding a notebook. He read aloud like lecturing. October 14, Eli disobeyed orders. Punishment, 3-day isolation. Response, screaming, attempted escape. Note, continue sound therapy. And Claire shivered. She realized the notebook chronicled his tortures. He turned children into victims of sick psychological experiments. She was next. As he approached, holding an old speaker to play recorded screams, one of his mental torture methods, Claire braced herself, waiting for him to let his guard down. A loud crash came from outside. Something fell in the basement. Kilmer flinched, turning. Claire didn't hesitate. She yanked hard, snapping a piece of the iron bed's wood. Pain seared through her, but she lunged, smashing the wood into Kilmer's head. He staggered, blood streaming from his forehead, howling like a wounded animal. Claire dove for the table, grabbed the scissors, and cut the straps on her feet. Without thinking, she bolted. The basement hallway was pitch black, lit only by a dim yellow bulb. She followed scrawled marks on the walls, Eli's, searching for an exit. Behind her, Kilmer's roars grew closer. Claire ran through a room filled with old toys, torn student photos, and warped educational slogans. Obedience is survival. She forced open a heavy iron door, crashing into a spiral staircase leading to the library. She nearly slipped but kept climbing. As she pushed open the trapdoor to the library, Kilmer emerged behind her. "Don't leave me, I'm fixing you," he screamed, his filthy hand grabbing her ankle. Claire thrashed, kicking him in the face. She broke free, stumbling into the dark library, but she wasn't alone. A flashlight beam flared. It was Walter, the old groundskeeper. "Claire," he shouted, "I finally tracked this place down. Come here, quick." Kilmer rose from the floor, charging like a beast. Walter drew a gun, an old but functional pistol. He fired once into Kilmer's leg. Kilmer howled, lunging forward. Walter fired again, the shot tearing through the night. Claire collapsed into Walter's arms, barely escaping with her life. Claire left Hollow Creek within a week of her rescue. She didn't return to the school for anything. All she took was a small backpack and nightmares etched deep in her mind. The police sealed off the school and dormitory. Claire moved back to the city, renting a small apartment high in a quiet complex. At first, she focused on normalcy, morning coffee, textbooks, new job applications. But at night, Eli's image, the distorted drawings, and Kilmer's wild eyes haunted her sleep, even after therapy. One cold autumn morning, a package appeared at her door. No sender, no stamp, just an old student notebook, its brown leather cover worn. Her heart raced as she flipped through it, pages filled with a child's jagged sketches. Not random, they depicted a woman tied in a small room, walls stained, floor tiled. The woman was Claire. The final page bore a handwritten note, "No one truly leaves Hollow Creek." The shaky script was unmistakable, identical to Robert Kilmer's notebook from the basement. Panicked, Claire called the police. An investigation opened, but no trace of the package was found. No security footage, no fingerprints, no sign of a break-in. That night, Claire sat by her window, trying to calm herself. The city was quiet, streetlights casting a soft glow on empty streets. But then, from far away, very far, a bell rang. The school bell, 3 chimes, like Hollow Creek-esque. Claire froze, eyes locked on the darkness outside. Impossible. She was over 300 miles from Hollow Creek. No bell could be heard unless... It rang again, clarer, colder, and behind her on the table where the notebook sat, a page flipped open. No wind, no one else in the room. Just Claire, her fear, and the bell's echo, like a call from an unclosed hell.